Stephanie Laing directed episodes 5 and 6 of Palm Royale. I'm Matt Noble of Gold Derby. I wanted to ask you, Stephanie, to start off. In the 2 episodes you directed, what was the biggest revelation in this world that you had to cover?
For me, I mean, everybody has secrets in this world, right? And
Mm,
everybody's pretending to be someone they're not. I think for me, the biggest revelation was, I mean, one of the most exciting storylines, obviously, would be in episode 6 with, Laura Dern's character and her father, Bruce Dern.
mm.
Uh, that was, incredible off screen and on screen. And anything with Kristen Wiig is always revelatory. She's incredible in the series and just feel so lucky for, the collaboration and the trust between her and Abe and just, honestly, like what a fun world to play in.
Yeah. It's such like a visually captivating show, but you've also got these incredible sort of character moments, like either conversations between characters, almost like in episode 6, Alison Janney's Evelyn has this big sort of monologue where she unfurls sort of like about the world and how she's feeling about things. How do you balance that sort of the striking visuals of the world while at the same time making sure you focus on those character moments?
I mean, for me, it's always about performance. I feel like a very performance-based director. And so it as long as it feels real and somewhat grounded, then I think you can't go wrong, right? And the truth is like the production design is so brilliant and real. And I mean it's a little heightened, but it's that world in that time period. And so including the costumes. Like so once you just accept like I'm here, I'm in this world, and then you have these incredible performances, you're kind of gold.
Yeah. As you said before, like everyone in this show has their secrets, and like it's almost like each episode you discover more about the world, more about some of the characters. As you were looking at like sort of the scripts for the 2 episodes you were approaching, what sort of shocked you the most?
I mean, I think that Linda's storyline is really interesting to me, you
Mm,
know. I love her character, I love her storyline, I love what she's fighting for. I'm excited for everybody to see where her character goes. Obviously, Maxine, we get to dig a little deeper, and I think you in episode 5, I think you always love like Maxine, like you're rooting for Maxine. It's such an interesting thing that, Kristen does so well is that like she's kind of just making bad decisions and she really just wants to be, part of something, but you root for her as this underdog. You just can't help it, right? And then I think I love Allison's character, but I also think like Ricky Martin is so endearing and really sweet in these moments. Episode 5, where you really see how much he cares for Norma.
mm. Yeah. Yeah, well, in that the end of episode 5, Kristen Wiig's Maxine walks in, sees Ricky Martin caring for Norma, and says something real.
Yeah.
And I think like there's a lot of amongst the women and men on this show, the world of this show, there's superficiality, there's secrets. How do you as a director find something real in a world where a lot of people are trying not to be real?
I think it goes back to performance again, right? You just focus
Mm,
on like we never really played like a joke for a joke. We just kind of played everything straight, it's sort of how you live your life. Things are absurd and sad and happy and you can laugh and cry at the same time, And so for me it's like I just focus on that, on those things, and then really just focus on the character nuances, right? So I think when I came into 5 and 6, I was able to watch like some of the first 2 that Tate did and and watch Abe and see what he was doing with the camera and with his characters and how the actors were performing things and kind of where it was building to. So I think that's what's so great is to kind of just, Kristen, would do this thing where she would scream occasionally, as Maxine. And I remember being on set one day for episode 5 saying, I think it's okay for you to scream again here, and just kind of tracking all the little details and the nuances of the characters and even for Leslie Bibb, right? Just kind of you got to keep track of where they are in the story, but just pay attention to the character. It's really about the character details for me.
mm. And like in your 2 episodes, like the interesting thing is you're like there's 4 episodes that come beforehand, so you're building on an established style, an established look, an established vision. But it's almost like each episode you discover new things about the worlds and the characters. So how much of you was trying to like build on what was already sort of done in terms of look, and how much of you was trying to add something new or different to the look of the show as the world expanded and we delved deeper into the
Yeah.
characters?
I think for me, it's like I can say, like expanding on the world, I think the people that were there do such a good job of that. Like again, like costumes and John Carlos, production design, and Abe, and like they know they're already living in that world so well. So for me, when I come in, I keep talking about character, but that's the thing. Like when Kristen gets, is on the golf course, like I asked for an alligator. So that's the thing that I would add is just like another beat of like, oh, things are bad for Maxine, but also now there's an alligator, right?
Yeah.
There's a moment on the golf course where Ricky Martin spits in the drink that he's making. That's me. Those are the things I add, the little details, little touches where you're just like, okay, we're protecting the tone, but let's try something. So those are the things that make me very excited to show a little bit more about the character.
Mm. And something else that you get to dive into that you've mentioned already is the Laura Dern and Bruce Dern, two sort of Hollywood icons, father daughter, playing a real life father and daughter playing a
Yeah.
fictitious father and daughter in this. What like what? How did you approach those scenes with them? Yeah.
Honestly, like what an incredible privilege to be able to direct that. You don't know when you go onto a series like what episodes you're going to get, and they started sending, they sent me episode 5, and then I got 6, and I didn't know at the time, who was playing Skeet, and I think it was my first day, and they said, oh, it's Bruce, and I'm pretty sure I had a little heart attack. Was like, oh, that's a lot, that's a lot to do, but what a privilege to be able to do it, and Abe and Laura, again, just such great collaborators and so trusting. And so just approaching it with honesty and like, we have a great script to go on that Abe has written. And then we have Laura, who's an amazing, so talented actress with such nuance, and then the legend Bruce. So like you kind of can't go wrong, you just approach it from an honest place. And I think it was, yeah, there was a lot of stress, just like I think wanting to get it right. But you're in good hands when you've got Laura and Bruce. I mean, how can you mess that up?
Yeah. And not season, episode 6 ends with them tripping on LSD. Like, what was it like approaching that scene? You have Laura and Bruce tripping on LSD, really sort of coming like connecting. It's like a very, very visually stunning scene as well. So how did you sort of juggle all the elements there?
Thank you. We storyboarded a lot of it, and then we played music while we shot it to kind of get in the mood for the LSD trip. And I do remember there being a moment where they're in the space capsule, uh, which was on blue screen, and Abe and I were behind the monitors watching. We were playing this like Bridget St. John, I think, song, and completely like both of us just like water sprung from our eyes, and we're like, this is like, we're just watching something so beautiful happen here. So yeah, we set the mood by playing a really beautiful sad song and let them do their magic.
Yeah. And do you have any like was there any I don't know, highlights from that day of shooting with Bruce and Laura?
It was yeah, I mean, I think I had Bruce for like 3 or 4 days with her, and I would say the whole, like every moment of those 3 days was a highlight. Like it's a career moment. I mean, also like how can it not be, right? It's that pressure. I remember at one point I turned around and there were other like Jay Roach was there, and everybody was like, it was just this excitement of seeing the two of them together. So it was a lot of anticipation, and then of course they completely delivered. So yeah, I would say every day was a highlight with them. And every day with Carol Burnett is a highlight, right? I
Mm.
mean, that was like, I think I'm pretty sure everyone who met her for the first time teared up, because you're just like, how is this real? I get to direct and work with this iconic, woman in comedy, such a trailblazer, which again, Incredible. What an amazing sandbox that Abe Sylvia has created to let us all come and play in.
Yeah. And like with Carol Burnett, her character is limited in what she can say and what she can do. Um, what is that like in doing scenes with her where like you've got to get stuff out of her when like there are limitations to what how a character can move, how a character can speak.
Yeah, I think we just like Carol and I talked like I mean, and there's the bookstore scene when Maxine wheels her in, and I was like, what if you just fall asleep? What if you grabbed a book? We just played with a couple different ideas of like, okay, you're allowed to use your arms, so
Mm.
just grab a book. I mean, I think there's even a moment on the golf course where, she kind of makes an obscene gesture over at Douglas, and there's so much more she wants to say. So we just had to play with, with again what you're saying, more to your point, just like her limitations and just, I mean, she says so much with just her face and her eyes.
Yeah. Is it is Carol Burnett someone who's difficult to contain? Did she wanna do more? Like
I think that Carol was game to do anything. And I think there's a scene, I think in episode 6 when they have to oh, I mean, I'm not spoiling, right? Because this doesn't come
no,
out.
this'll come after episode
She's
6.
walked and they find her, on the ground and they're lifting her back into bed. And I remember just saying, like, Carol, okay, like, you know, you can, we're gonna do this. And she's, I mean, she's incredible. She's just down for anything. So, in terms of like containing, you don't need to, you don't want to, you want Carol to be Carol.
Yeah. No, very much so. And we talked about the LSD scene with Bruce and Laura, but like that whole sort of sequence to the song, I think it's like Moonshot perhaps.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, good. Is like we see it's sort of we go between all the storylines. It's a really beautiful sort of sequence, and we see particularly like we see like some big sort of character moments for sort of most of our key characters in the show. We see Kristen Wiig putting envelopes in the post box saying like "you are somebody," and like we've got these great like sort of it seems like a very pivotal moment in the arc of the series. What do you think that sort of sequence means to you in terms of the show? Yeah, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it's like setting you up for the next 4 episodes, really, right? It's sort of like you've had the first 5, you've built to this payoff, you've gotten to know these characters more, and now you're in it, you love them, and you're right. It's like I think we've earned some emotional moment here, where you want to see this pivotal, you want to see them like win something, you want Ricky Martin to win, you want Kristen's character to win something, and you're just like you're rooting for them and hoping, that it's a nice jumping off point for the next 4 episodes.
Yeah. And like we have that great scene with Ricky Martin and Kristen Wiig where he sort of like says they're friends and she
Yeah,
she goes, but we're not friends. Like I'm friends with people at the club. And he's like, no, 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 they're not your he goes,
right,
they're not your friends.
yeah,
This
yeah,
is this is friends, but we're fighting all the time. No, 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 that's part of what friends do.
yeah, yeah.
I think like it sort of showed how important relationships are in life, but also in the show, in the world of the show, and understanding relationships well. I imagine as director, like your relationship with the actors, particularly since you've talked about so much today that like how important the characters are and serving them. Like, what sort of your sort of secret, or what's your sort of trick for how you approach relationships with actors to get the best out of them in scenes?
I think it's about collaboration and trust, right? And and doing your homework, especially if you're doing like episodic stuff, right? You're coming in, as we talked about before, sort of things have been established, and by the time I get there, the cast really know their characters, and Abe certainly does. And so, for me, it's about doing your homework and being prepared, and paying attention to the details, because sometimes, you know, I can come in with an outside perspective because I've watched all the dailies. I've seen what they've done, and they're in the middle, they're still in the thick of it. So I can point out something that, maybe there's some physicality, something Ricky's doing. That's why I knew he was making drinks all the time, which is why I thought it was a really nice payoff for him to be pissed off and spit in a drink. It felt deserved, and earned for him to do that. So I think the biggest thing I can do is come prepared, and bring some fun and some details and nuance to the sandbox. And then, you know, protect the tone, right? You're really like protecting the tone. And sometimes, you know, that's one of the great things about working with Abe is he would let me try something. We're like, I don't know if this is going to be too comedic, but let's try it, you know, and in the edit we'll decide, we'll pull back. So it's really just about having, you know, protecting yourself with levels of comedy and not comedy and heartfelt moment, you know, so that you just can really look in the edit at the whole court, you know, for each episode, but not only the episode, for the entire series. So he just has the ability to move things around and make sure you're tracking the character's arc, you know, the right way.
Yeah. And what was the biggest challenge for you in those 2 episodes to direct?
Um, I wouldn't say, I mean, look, it's a huge show, but Apple TV Plus is so supportive that it felt like we just always had the resources we needed to make the show, and they were, you know, again, incredibly supportive. I would just say, you know, I mean, we were still shooting during COVID. It's like, you know, that's always going to be the thing that it made things difficult and challenging. And thankfully, we're not in that space anymore.
Yeah. What scene are you the most proud of from those 2 episodes?
Uh, I would say I'm very proud of Kristen, anything with Kristen and Ricky in it in the 2 episodes. I love for the emotion, as you said, about like that lesson of like community and friendship. And does Max even really know what that means until she really understands where her relationship is with, you know, with Ricky Martin's character. I would say that Josh Lucas is the revelation in the series and so amazingly fun to work with, as is Mindy Cohn and Leslie Bibb. I mean, it's hard to pick just like one.
Mm.
Ultimately, I have to say, like, you know, I mean, you know, directing Bruce and Laura is like, that's, you know, that's a life. I mean, that's probably never going to happen again in my career. And that was amazing. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And what scenes what scene of them did you find, like, I don't know if it's right to say, got the most out of or found most interesting or whatever? Was it sort of the ones which are a bit more of the quieter, her and him in the bed just talking over cake, or was it the big sort of scene at the end of episode 6 where you got the music and the visuals and sort of payoff or big moment? Do you prefer the big moment
Yeah.
with them or the quieter one?
I love the big moment, but I love the quieter one is closer to my heart, right? Because it's really about apologizing and a
Mm.
recognition of what their 2 characters, you know, where they are in their lives and their relationship. And so and the idea that, you know, something as simple as like, I'm gonna bring you birthday cake. And that I think is just so sweet.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. What do you think, like, Palm Royale, what do you think at its heart this show is?
I mean, to me, it's about self-discovery and obviously in Maxine's journey. And, you know, she just wants so desperately to be part of something. And then ultimately, you know, well, we'll see where her journey takes her to in that self-discovery. I think everyone there, you know, has a secret or is pretending to be something they're not, but ultimately it is to me about that. It's just sort of like finding your people, finding where you belong, and maybe ultimately realizing, you know, you belonged right where you were at the beginning. You know, like it's about your motivation and what is making you happy, and then ultimately realizing maybe that isn't the thing that is driving you. You know, I think it's just about self-discovery.
Yeah. And what do you enjoy most about the show, even just as a viewer of the show?
I mean, it's delicious, you know, it's beautiful. It's like, I think I read somewhere once, it was like the most beautiful show on TV. I mean, it is, it's that color palette and this, you know, again, the cast, and I mean, you combine the cast with the wardrobe and the production design. I mean, I can't say enough about like John Carlos production design. Like I mean, the level of detail that went into every single set. I remember showing up the first day and him walking me through like Norma's, actually Skeet's, you know, bedroom and just where he had placed things, you know, for camera or a certain pattern on a wall for, you know, a curtain to create a frame within a frame within a frame. And it's just like, it's really, I've never worked with someone that talented.
Is there a big unanswered question you have from the world or the stories?
Well, you know, I haven't seen the last 3.
So what's the big question you have as we go into the last 3 episodes?
My biggest question is, where is Maxine gonna end up?
Yeah, that's fair enough. Very good.
I'm
Um,
saving it for as a fan, you
yeah.
know.
Oh, that's awesome. I haven't seen the last 3 either, so
Yeah,
I can't wait to find out too. What just to finish off, you won 2 Emmys for Best Comedy Series for Veep, one of my favorite comedies of all time. I just think that show is unreal. We've also got Physical season 3 you've directed. You've got a film Toe with Rose Byrne again. Like, just as a director, like, what, like, what's the most special thing for you that covers all your work that you've done? Like, what's the thing that
yeah.
you're looking for as you approach television or film?
Yeah, for me, it's really it's character-driven stories that have something to say about the world we live in, or a world we used to live in, like Palm Royale. So that's really my thread. I love dark comedy. I think life, I mean, I jokingly say that comedy is the only thing that hasn't tried to kill me. So that's that's where I'm at. You know, I can't, it's hard for me not to look at a world and find some dark comedy in it. And but really it's just, yeah, it's character driven, nuanced stories that might seem simple that are not simple. And like in the case of Physical, you know, it's a woman with, you know, disordered eating, but it's told through aerobics and 80s music and a very fast-paced camera. So we'll pull you into the world and then surprise you with some heart.
Yeah. Just quickly, where are your Veep Emmys? Where do you keep them?
On my in my living room at home.
Nice. Very nice. Well, Stephanie, thanks so much for talking to us today. All the best of luck with the
You too.
Emmy Awards for Palm Royale. And people can go to goldderby.com to follow our Emmys award coverage there. And yeah, Stephanie, thanks for chatting with us today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.